Now, it's pretty safe to say that Ahsoka Tano is one of the most beloved characters in all of Star Wars, that she has some of the best character development or one of the best overall stories in the entire franchise. And going along with that, I often hear some fans say they're afraid she'll be overused by Lucasfilm and Disney going forward, with some fans thinking she's already been used too much, especially when it seems Dave Filoni literally inserted a form of time travel into Star Wars just to bring her back or keep her alive. Because there certainly are some fans I've talked to or heard from who think her story should have ended tragically at the hands of her former master to make her death one more dark deed committed by Darth Vader. But the funny thing about Ahsoka is that as many fans as there are who know and love the character, and again, maybe some who fear her being overused, there are also a lot of fans that either have never heard of her, or maybe know little to next to nothing about her, because they never watched Clone Wars or Rebels. There are a lot of fans that, assuming the rumors of her live-action appearance in The Mandalorian are true, will be introduced to her for the very first time soon enough. And I think it's going to be rather interesting to see how fans who have never really seen her before or know little about her will react to her as is, how they'll react to meeting this character for the first time in the post-Return of the Jedi era, a character that was, in many ways, defined by her relationship or place in Anakin's story. A character that, for those who watched the Clone Wars, many slowly grew to love, partly because of the importance, again, in his story, and partly, and mainly, I think, because of her good coming-of-age story that anyone can relate to. But now, or so I would imagine, in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, she'll largely be free from any guilt and blame she once placed on herself because of Anakin, because I'm going to assume at some point, and I do hope we get to see this interaction, that she met with and spoke with Luke Skywalker, that she knows how Anakin's story ended, that he gave his life to save his son and to stop Palpatine forever, at least for a little while. And as someone who's followed the character through Clone Wars and into Rebels and then back into Season 7 of the Clone Wars, I think there could be an interesting story to tell here, seeing a final chapter of Ahsoka's story, where she evolves even more into her own character entirely, instead of one that exists in the shadow of Anakin. To me, that sounds interesting. Even though Season 7 of the Clone Wars already started to explore this, it certainly showed her moving away from Anakin, though soon enough she'd be pulled back in because of Darth Vader, or finding out Anakin had become Vader. But then again here, who knows how much her character will even be explored in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, again assuming the reports or rumors that Rosario Dawson will be playing her there are true. And actually, it wouldn't shock me if these reports are wrong, though maybe not entirely, because the thing is, the news about her supposedly being cast came out after Season 2 would have already been filmed. Now that could of course just be when the news happened to leak out, but oddly enough, the time that came out also lines up with a lot of casting news for the Cassian Andor series. And to be honest with you, it'd actually make just as much sense for her to be in that show, if not more so, than for her to be in The Mandalorian. Why do I say that? Well, first of all, because Cassian Andor was a Fulcrum agent for the Rebellion, and Ahsoka was actually the first Fulcrum agent for the Rebellion. We even see her acting in that capacity in Season 1 of Rebels. Furthermore, I don't think The Mandalorian, the show itself, needs Ahsoka in there. I don't think it needs the extra attraction for the fans, if you will. Sure, there are multiple ways it could find a spot for her or use her in the story. I'm certainly not opposed to the idea per se. They could have it where she shows up for some reason because of Baby Yoda, and maybe Ahsoka will take him home. Or maybe Ahsoka gets involved because of her connection to Bo-Katan, and Bo-Katan of course has a connection to the Darksaber, which we see Moff Gideon currently wielding. So yeah, there is certainly a place or a way to fit her into the story, but the question is, does the story really need her? Season 1 of The Mandalorian did just fine, great even, without relying on any fan favorites, and instead introduced all new characters. And though again I'm not opposed to seeing Ahsoka in there, or Boba Fett, which is also rumored, I think her showing up in the Cassian Andor series almost makes more sense, especially from the Lucasfilm and Disney perspective. Because, let's be honest, that show could use a bit of help to get the attention of the fans. It could use a true fan favorite to drum up some more interest and excitement for it. It could or would also introduce new audiences to a slightly more broken Ahsoka, one more haunted by her past and everything that happened with her in the Clone Wars and with Anakin. And in this time of little hope for the galaxy, she may be torn about returning to the ways of the Jedi and perhaps even rebuilding the Order. She could maybe even run into other Jedi in hiding. She'd also have more reason to talk about her time with Anakin in the Clone Wars in this show over The Mandalorian, which would maybe encourage fans who have never seen Clone Wars to go back and check it out. And sure, maybe she'll be in both shows. Maybe she'll be in both Season 2 of The Mandalorian and the Cassian Andor series. In fact, I'd almost find it strange if she wasn't in the Cassian Andor series at all, again with him being a Fulcrum agent and her being the first Fulcrum agent. I could even see the series kicking off with her finding and recruiting Cassian, and the two working together quite a bit as the series goes on, which runs the risk of maybe turning this into the Ahsoka show. But I do really think that they, at Lucasfilm, realized that, as is, there's, again, not a ton of excitement for this upcoming series. The reaction I get when I talk about it is often, oh yeah, I forgot that's even coming. And you also have to keep in mind that this show was announced years ago at this point, back when I think they still had confidence or believed that pretty much anything Star Wars would just automatically sell. And to be honest, I'm a little surprised that this thing is still happening, though that said, I do hope it ends up being a great show. Also worth pointing out here is that many believe, and there are rumors, that Ahsoka will get her own live-action series on top of anything and everything else she may be in. Lucasfilm, after all, did confirm that Leslie Headland would be creating a female-centric live-action series, and many believe that female center will be Ahsoka Tano. Then the rumors about a sequel series to Rebels could certainly still be true, and that show is rumored to be about Ahsoka and Sabine's search for Ezra. In other words, if all these rumors are true, and if my speculation about her also being in the Cassian Andor series is correct, we could be getting a lot more Ahsoka in the very near future. And arguably too much for some, though again, for a good number of fans, this will be the very first time they ever really see the character. And considering Rosario Dawson is a huge Star Wars fan, and has been wanting to play this character for years, she may certainly be on board with a crazy workload or insane filming schedule. She may be all for being a part of multiple series. The question then has to become, again, how do fans feel about this? How do you feel about it? Now, personally, like I said before, I am open to her story continuing into the post-Return of the Jedi era, as long as they can find something interesting to explore there, which I certainly think they can. I also think seeing her from time to time in the Cassian series could be interesting. Again, she could run into some former Jedi, maybe try to convince them to come out of hiding to help the rebellion. Who knows what you could do there. That said, I don't think we need to see her in everything all the time. She could theoretically be in almost everything currently in the works. I mean, she could show up in the Bad Batch series. She could show up in the Kenobi series. She could, and maybe should be, in the Cassian Andor series. She's supposedly going to be in Season 2 of The Mandalorian already. If the rumors about a sequel to Rebels are true, she'll be in that. There's also the rumor of her getting her own series. And so as much as I do love this character, I certainly don't need to see her in everything. I don't need to see them spoil a good thing by overusing it. Yes, give us more Ahsoka, I'm fine with that, but be prudent here. One of my biggest gripes with Star Wars in the Disney era is they don't seem to look for just good stories. They take a character and try to find or manufacture a good story about them in order to sell it. And I fear that could easily happen with Ahsoka, that they don't necessarily have good stories in mind to tell about her, but they're going to go out of their way to try and find them, which could very quickly ruin this character. Well, that's all I've got for this time. Now it's your turn to tell me what you think. How much more of Ahsoka Tano do you want to see, if any at all, I suppose? Is this a character whose story has been told, or is it just beginning? Do you want her to be in all these shows? Do you want her to get her own series? Or is it all way too much? Whatever the case may be, leave a comment below and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.